beginning of the interview, you're talking about your wish and your expectations for Agile, where it need to be evolved after 20 years. You're talking about business agility. And also we see that Agile practice is no longer only for the IT and developers, but also you see in such digital age, the disruptiveness, and a lot of companies has CEO, their agendas on digital transformation has put business agility as their top in their agenda. So, and recently you're also promoting Agnostic Agile. And I know on November 19, we will have global events, and there will be also events in China, which is online events. Can you share let us a little bit more with us about your view on business agility, and also tell a little bit more about Agnostic Agile?
Yeah, so business agility is for me, that organization that is capable to respond to change with a high level of quality. And that means that you do it as a whole. And I think to be that organization, I always say, if you look at Agile, when we wrote the manifesto, not everybody was looking at the same thing. We all started working in a different way at one moment in time. I did it in 1994. Maybe some other people in the late 80s, some other people in the late 90s. I don't know exactly, but when we were together in 2001, we had all worked differently, but in a different way. And that means the good news is that every one of us was working with practices, and some of them were similar. I mean, the daily stand-up, I think almost in every agile methodology that you see when we wrote the manifesto was doing a daily stand-up, daily achievement meeting, whatever the word was for it, right? But some were different, and when you go on the quality, and don't underestimate, for example, the impact of quality of code on the corporate capability, because if I have proper code and something needs to be changed, I can change much faster than when I have crappy code that is only known by one developer, right? So it's all those things together. But some people are focusing on efficiency, some people are focusing on the value delivery, and real value, which is something else than a product owner between the business and IT. That's for me not business agility, and especially not value delivery. So in business agility is that corporate capability that where you need to go to make that happen. I think if you look at one organization, it's not just development, it's not just operations. We have all those different teams, and we can have development and operations, we can have it separately. And then you look at this set of methodologies in the agile domain, and lean and Kanban is for me different than Agile. Agile is not a methodology. Lean is a methodology. Kanban, a TDD and XP, and there's a difference between a methodology and a concept. Agile is just a concept. And agnostic agile is that you take from the different methodologies as the practices. I mean, you're a practitioner. The word says it already. You're a practitioner, and you take the practices that help you most. And in the same company, if you are doing a help desk together with 10 colleagues, you might use a lot of lean and Kanban in there. If you do development, you might do a lot of, I don't know, extreme programming and maybe, I don't know, DSDM or Scrum or whatever, right? And I just want to say, and that's for me agnostic. And that means that your body of knowledge becomes bigger, but once you have it, you can really, help your teams moving forward and doing it together. And that's for me agnostic agile. Don't be dogmatic about one methodology. No, not at all. Take the best from everything. Cherry pick, but cherry pick on value, not because of on a personal bias or on a personal preference, because of value.
Right. So to summarize that, Agile is not methodology, but it's concept. Agnostic Agile is that you are promoting, encouraging people to take the right practices within the Agile, and then to benefit, focus the value of the organization, the business. I'm looking forward also to having back on November 19th on Agnostic Agile events. I know there will be global events. At that time, I will be there with other speakers as well. Patrick, another question, similar but different question for you. I remember last year on the 10 years anniversary events in DevOpsDays, you present topics like DevOps beyond Dev and Ops. I still remember your last slides in your presentation on the stage. You showed so many horses. You see DevOps with marketing, DevOps HR, DevOps with finance. So you also say, DevOps should be adopted not only between Dev and Ops, but also with many other business development. So my question to you is that, have you seen already, I'm sure they're already happening, do you see more and more silos already breaking down between Dev and Ops, and to take it furthermore to other business functions and units, how they should adopt the DevOps practice?
Yeah, first of all, the picture of the horses, I ended up by saying, why horses? Because unicorns don't exist.
Exactly.
and it's the people, right? I think the talk was a summary from my learning, in a way that like DevOps started as, for me, from system sticking. Where is the bottleneck that is hurting me the most? And at that time, it was the deployment. But I learned by running my own company that once I got the pipeline running, I had like bottlenecks in other departments. Like my sales wasn't working, my marketing wasn't working, and then in the end, my business strategy was the problem, right? We could work so much on that. I also realized that every of those kind of, if you would go into a bigger company, these departments, they have their own pipeline. Sales has a pipeline. Finance has a pipeline. They all have a dashboard. They all have a task board. They're all kind of trying to automate themselves to get better results and get feedback, whether that's the sales from the marketing and so on. Your question on whether I've seen it done in at a larger scales to bring the groups together. It's not that a specific, let's say, story comes to mind, but I can see that some of the successful companies are actually trying to break barriers, whether that's in your hiring strategy, that they start to involve the people on the floor instead of the hiring just be an interview. No, they try to get you on the floor together with the team to see if there's a good match. The same with finance. They might say, well, we're blocking all expenses, but what if they're on the chat and something comes up? Then they're also on call, having to make a decision, yes, no, and an informed decision. And that's the same with legal. So that same agility, and I'm seeing it now at Snyk, is like all the channels, everybody's almost like in this swarm mode. If something happens and we need other people from other departments, we're going to pull them in as fast as we can to get them good feedback. And it's no more this mentality of, this is not for me, this is not my department. Like everybody's trying to understand if something is happening, and whether that's your privacy policy you put on your website or other parts, it is just as equally important, because they can all have an impact on your business if something happens on that. So I think the same agility and making almost like the personal connections, like I talked before, between the different groups and the champions of the group, is that you should not be afraid to reach out, and they are responding back to an attitude of, how can we help you, instead of an attitude of, you're giving us extra work. And I think that is part of a global kind of success formula currently. Again, it's the chat organization, but it opens up everybody to be involved in the conversation as much. There's definitely some cons to it as well. Like you can't be in all the conversations, but having this direct relationship is almost like flattening part of the structure as much as we can in a big company these days. And whether that's your boss or your high boss, or it doesn't matter, you should have a mentality that you're open to be able to reach out to them, to have an honest conversation, not overburden them with your questions, but if you feel there needs to be an involvement, then you should reach out. And it also, of course, requires the mentality that you understand the other group's problems. Like if sales trying to close a deal and you're a technical person, you try to help them and try to understand what they're trying to achieve. And the other way around, if you're doing sales, but this technical person is advocating for a certain solution because that really helps him or her in his job, then sales should help them. So I see it happening. I haven't seen it like in a global movement or like a global attitude, although from what I've seen, part of Bossa Nova kind of starts in that direction because they bring like agile budgeting, open spaces in a company together, and other kind of parts, which isn't a strict kind of IT group only working together. So that's the best I've seen so far.
Right. We also see some terms has been pop up like a BizDevOps DevSecOps that's engaged a lot of other departments. Actually, DevOps, the word itself, although it's from development and ops, but actually it's also the essence is breaking down the silos. There's not only silos between dev and ops, but there are also silos between departments. So I think if people are thinking DevOps in first 10 years, they only think about developer and operations. But actually now it should escalate to the business level. It should be integrated as part of their digital transformation strategy to supporting the organization transform the business goal to break down the silos. The company can be really united. Otherwise, if only still focus dev and ops, and the IT are still separate from the business. And that's what Arie was surprising to see, why we're talking about it even today. And back to Arie, and also he's expecting Agile is more to the business level, business agility, and I hope for next decades or those practices can more evolve to the organizational level in terms of their core business strategy or digital transformation strategy. I know the time is already wrapping up. Before I close, I would like to propose that each of you say something about the coming DevOps Days events in Shanghai in December, and then maybe I would take a few extra minutes. I would like to pick one or two questions from the group who are now with us in their evening time. Start maybe with you, Patrick. Would you like to express your view on such difficult time on DevOps Days? Also, you see a lot of global DevOps Days events facing the same challenges. And although we are still trying very hard to bring a live physical event in Shanghai in December. Yes.
Yeah, I want to thank you again, Sun, and everybody involved in this organization, and everybody helping DevOps Days to kind of like get the message out. Like you say, it's been really hard for the community to get connected. But don't be shy on doing it in a virtual event or even going there or meeting other people at the convenience of doing it from your home. It's the random kind of conversations that I liked even more instead of the thousands of people at one event is having meaningful conversations and make sure you continue that. And it's heartwarming to see the community to keep their heads up and to keep like organizing these events even in these difficult times. So thank you for that.
Thanks, Patrick, for the support. And Arie, would you like to say something on the DevOps Days? I know we should already having you at the events physically, but COVID make things a lot different. And this is your opportunity to say something to the delegates in the events.
Yeah, so I will try to do my best and to give people what they need. I also know that it's not just by doing a talk on those kind of conferences. And what I like so much, and if we can find a way to do it, and otherwise next year on site, I love those moments where you are in this conference area, where you have all those little corners, where you have a flip chart and a couple of markers, and you can grab maybe 5 or 10 or 15 people, and you can have this nice interactive debate, and where you can go really deep, for like 15, 20 minutes, and then go to the next session. I would, the upcoming days, I'll give what I have to make it happen. In remote, we can do a lot. And I hope that the year after, or anyway, we can find those little moments where you can, because people sometimes have a need for this specific, okay, how can I do this? And I love those, and I love to help people forward from that perspective. And I really hope we can make that happen.
I see there's a lot of countries that's developed the vaccines. I think this will over soon, and hopefully we can see a lot of each other more often face to face.